we go. So, welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm thrilled to have a guest with me. Her name is Lisa Brookman. She's a psychotherapist and co director of the West Island Therapy and Wellness Center right here in Montreal. For over 20 years, Lisa has devoted her career to helping people find their strength, heal from life's challenges, and reconnect with their sense of purpose and inner peace. She's especially passionate about helping people nurture self compassion and self worth, empowering them to listen to their inner voice, trust their intuition, and embrace themselves fully. And this past October, Lisa actually put on an event called Menopause Unscripted. In this event, industry professionals provided empowering and informative workshops with the goal of helping us better navigate this transformative phase of our lives with confidence and ease. And that is so needed. So I could go on about Lisa and the difference that she has made in this community, but I just want to let her talk now. So I'm thrilled to have you on, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I am so thrilled to be here today. It makes me feel so happy that women are collaborating and talking and getting the word out of evolution and change. So I'm really, really honored to be here.
I'm so pleased. I think this is so important. And your work in particular, you have a, you're a psychotherapist and you've been working with different populations, but most recently you've been focused on women who are going through midlife. So can you tell us a little bit about your own story and how you got to doing this?
So, it's very interesting. I'm going through my perimenopausal journey right now and trying the best to navigate it the best that I can. And I was having, a lot of sleepless nights. Insomnia is one of my number one issues that I've been struggling with. So I spent a lot of time at night kind of thinking and planning and plotting and all these ideas in my head. And I started to kind of reminisce about my past and the story that really resonates with me. The fact that when I was 11 years old, I got my period for the very first time at a summer camp where I was sleeping away from home. And my mother had not sent me with any sanitary pads or tampons or anything. And I remember kind of navigating this as an 11-year-old, feeling very, very lonely, very scared, very isolated, not really understanding what was happening to my body, and feeling a tremendous sense of shame. And I remember that summer, it kind of gives me goosebumps when I talk about it because I literally would make these little makeshift pads with one-ply toilet paper. And that's what I used for the entire week. And I never really shared this story with anyone. And then I was reflecting on what I'd been feeling as I entered perimenopause. And some of those same feelings were creeping back in: isolation, shame, not understanding what was happening to my body. And then I kind of put this puzzle together, and this happened kind of at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I don't want young women, middle-aged women, any woman to ever struggle in silence for something that is naturally happening to their body. And if I could create a sense of community where women can come together and connect and support each other, like it became like almost a mission. So this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have my phone next to me, and I really try not to go on my phone in the middle of the night, but I had to take some notes. And I think that's kind of where this journey was born. I kind of was determined to create something out there that's kind of bigger than us that would allow women to kind of collaborate and come together.
I think that's so powerful. There's so many things in what you said because I think that as women, that's exactly what happens, right? We enter these phases with very little information, very little support. Maybe our mothers haven't talked to us about things, but yet we go into this feeling of shame, and I can relate to your story. I wasn't 11, I was older, but I still, there's always this secretive feeling around what we're going through and that it shouldn't be talked about and that we should keep it private and that there's a lot of pressure. I don't know where that comes from, but it feels like there's pressure on us to keep everything quiet and don't show anybody that you're going through any of this.
And things are still so taboo, like
Yeah.
talking about our bodies changing and things that we might be experiencing is still so secretive, and people either laugh about it or they're quiet about it. And I've learned through my own experience and the experience I do as a psychotherapist with my clients that keeping things inside, pushing them and sweeping them under the rug, or being ashamed or feeling embarrassment, it doesn't work. It just perpetuates the stigma and makes the issue even bigger than it has to be.
Yeah.
So I'm committed to stopping that.
Mm, I love that. So is that like how things happened for you? Because I think you've gone in various phases in your career too, right? Now you are yourself in perimenopause, and so you're serving, you understand that community, you're in it like me and so many of us. But also like the other phases of your life where you served women in very powerful ways, right? Like you said, we do go through this adolescent phase, we go through our periods, we go through pregnancy, we go through, all kinds of things that happen along the way. So have you like what are the different areas that you do serve women in your practice right now?
So, I serve both men and women, but I'm very passionate about women's issues and about giving women a voice. So I would say that, through my career, I've focused on infertility, which is something that I dealt with early on in my marriage and had to go through in vitro. And again, at the time, I wanted to get support. I was desperate to talk to someone who can understand. And, this is 25 years ago. There was no one who was doing, therapy or psychotherapy for infertility, and definitely not any kind of couples work around that. So, once I kind of created my family and healed from some of the difficulties that I had gone through my fertility treatment, I decided, okay, I'm going to be that person who helps people navigate. So to this day, I'm very passionate about fertility and helping clients, both men and women, navigate. Same thing with parenting. As soon as I became a mom and saw some of the difficulties that moms face, juggling work-life balance and the unrealistic pressures we put on ourselves and some of the ups and downs that we deal with, not only personally, but also in our marriage. Um, again, notice that there was not a lot of support out there for women who were trying to do both work and be kick-ass moms. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your
Yeah,
podcast,
you can
but
swear
I could swear.
if
Okay.
you
So,
need to.
so like, I wasn't finding that, it was either, you're a working mom and your kids are in daycare, or you are a stay-at-home mom. And I wanted to be both. And then I wanted to help other people be both. So I think that one of my superpowers is, and maybe one of my difficulties is, I'm a bit black and white. And when I jump into something, I jump in with all of me. So all these issues are things that I have faced. And I've always found, just for myself, that having personal experience and navigating things personally, and then tapping into, of course, my training, but also my intuition, has helped me to kind of navigate my private practice. So I've been a bit all over the place, but I feel there's one nucleus, and that's been, how do I help women navigate life in a way that they feel grounded and somewhat in control and have a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And I think that's always been kind of my grounding space that I go to, even when I've kind of jumped around with my client population that I work with.
Yeah. And I find that's normal, right? You're serving the people you understand the most and that you feel you have the most to contribute to and that you feel that you can really help. So I think it's normal. I've done the same. I started working with women who were, with young mothers, when I was a personal trainer, I started with them and started because I saw just like you how busy they were. They weren't fitting that in their schedule and then we're all busy. So I just found like, yeah, I needed to help that population. And then as I hit perimenopause a few years ago, I was like, oh, this is something I had no clue about. And so I said, I can't be alone. So I went in and jumped in that space as well. So I completely understand it. I think it comes from the heart in that case, because it really does. You really want to help and you really feel like you have something. And I think it's also because we all need support. We're looking for support, but we understand that others are needing that support as well. So
And
that's so
and just
powerful.
And to add to it, I always do my due diligence, right? I search and I look, and because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And if there's someone who's doing something fabulous, I don't need to do it too. But what
Mhm.
I've noticed, especially in the women's mental health industry, there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of voids. There's a lot of emptiness where people are not doing anything. And I've really prided myself on being a bit cutting edge and a bit outside the box. And I know you have too, where like I want to do things that no one else is doing. And I want to show women that no matter what they are kind of navigating or dealing with, there's support out there and there's guidance and there's tools. And I never want any person out there to ever feel alone when they're navigating their journey. And
Mm.
that, in the perimenopause world, there were so many gaps and so much emptiness. And I was just seeing so many of my clients just literally struggling in silence. And that was kind of my motivator. Like, I don't want anyone to feel that.
No. Oh, that's so powerful. That's so needed. Like we need to hear that. We need to know that we're not alone. And that's a big reason I have the podcast too, is to let people and women especially know that they're not alone in this. This is a transition and it's not a disease or either, but it is a time that we do need support and we do need to know that, there's other women going through this. There's other women who can help us through this. And that is so powerful. So I appreciate that. And I want to know, as the women you see in your practice who are going through this time in their life, what are they going through that they come and seek you out?
So it's so interesting. They come in and they don't know what they're going through. They just know
Mm.
that they're not feeling well physically and they're usually not feeling well emotionally. So they'll come in and they'll present and they'll say, I don't know, I never dealt with any kind of anxiety issue, but now I feel like I have anxiety or I'm depressed. I feel sad all the time. Or, I don't feel well. Like my appetite doesn't feel good. I don't sleep. I ruminate at night. But they never kind of put their finger on it. So they come more symptomatic. You know, my communication with my partner is not great, or I'm always agitated with my children. Like, I don't know what's going on, or I can't remember anything. I parked my car at the mall and then I come out and I don't even know where I parked and I'm so frustrated with myself. But usually it's very self-deprecating. They're very hard on themselves. And it's, can you fix me? I don't know what's going on with me and I just need to be better. And that's usually how these women are coming in for a therapy session.
Mm, mm. So they don't understand what's going on necessarily. That perimenopause could be a reason or a contributing factor to it.
So, like when you cut your hand and you're slicing something in the kitchen and you cut your hand and it bleeds and you kind of have a recipe. You wash it and you put maybe some peroxide and then you take a polysporin and you put on and you put a band-aid and you have like kind of a recipe for success. And like, okay, in probably about a week that little cut is going to heal and I'm going to be back to normal. We don't have that right now in our perimenopause, menopause world. It's
Mm.
random symptoms that everyone kind of experiences differently, and no one really knows what they're going through. And there's no kind of recipe for successful navigation. And I feel like people are feeling quite lost. And, till we figure out that they're going through some perimenopause stuff, I have to look at it from a global perspective, right? So I send them back to their family doctor. I suggest they, do some mindfulness. They go for blood tests. Um, but wouldn't it be interesting if women came in and said, I think I'm perimenopausal. These are some of the things that I'm feeling. I've noticed it since this date, and I'd love to kind of get some tools on how to navigate it better. But that's my optimal goal. I don't know if we're there yet, but the same way we would conquer like a cut on our hand, I'd love us to kind of just normalize the experience and navigate perimenopause and menopause in a more organized, informed with
Mm,
advocacy and skills and tools at our fingertips, like in a way that makes it more seamless for everyone.
yeah. Yeah, that would be ideal that people would come in and already have kept a record of what they have been going through and can attribute it and can see where it started. And I completely understand that, but that takes education and that takes, you know, which is, I guess, what was behind you bringing that event to life, which was Menopause Unscripted, was just to put the word out. This is, this is what it could be, right?
So it's interesting. So I just had a doctor's appointment with my endocrinologist. And, I know what I've been feeling, but, like not all, many women out there, sometimes I put my needs at the bottom. I'm running, I'm moving, I'm grooving. I was putting on my conference, my kids, visiting my son in Toronto, like I'm all over the place. So I went to my endocrinologist and we did some testing of my blood and my hormones. And I was very surprised, and I probably shouldn't have been surprised, but I was extremely surprised to hear that my progesterone is almost at zero. And I was
Hmm.
not anticipating that. But I went in, I knew exactly which blood tests I wanted him to test. I went in with a list of about 25 questions. I read, I practiced, I went in, and I left probably for the first time in a long time, a doctor's appointment, feeling extremely empowered and energized because it's half the battle is educating ourselves. And I've learned the hard way that I cannot expect the healthcare system to kind of ease me through any ailments that I might having with me being relaxed and, just kind of letting someone else lead. I've realized that for me, that doesn't work. And I kind of get lost in the shuffle. So I think that what I was talking about, that ideal is something we should strive for, but there's so many little things that we can do right now that just will help us to understand our bodies better and realize that there's so many tools and treatments and different things that we can be doing because I think there's this understanding, unfortunately, and I've been told this even by my own family doctor at one point. Well, that's what perimenopause is. You could go through this for 10 years. It is what it is. Like, all women kind of go through this. And I'm going to debunk that. We're privileged to go through it. It's a privilege for me to age and to get older and to see these changes in my body. But in no way am I going to just allow myself or the clients that I work with to just kind of suffer through it. I don't
Yeah.
believe that that's a healthy way of navigating. So, I think there's some time until we get to the point where maybe we all are taking complete control over our healthcare and our wellness. But I think it starts just with asking the right questions and educating ourselves.
Yeah. And I love that you're a healthcare provider who wants her patients to come in with this already done. I don't know if everybody is on the same page as you because I know there's a lot of frustration for women who go and see their doctor they don't necessarily want to hear it. So and they don't feel heard. So I love that. I think that side has to shift, right? The side of the healthcare professional who has to shift and listen to what women are saying as
And
well.
I'm not suggesting, I mean, doctors are brilliant and they've gone to
Mhm.
medical school and they know so much more than we do. But I have been asked in many doctor's appointments over my lifetime, are you a doctor? And I have said I am not, but I play one on TV kind of joke. And, and there's been pushback, and you're absolutely right. But I don't care about the pushback.
Yeah.
It's my body, it's my health. And I deserve to be as educated as I possibly can before going into something where I might embark on a treatment or a medication or a surgery. We can't just rely on other people to guide us. I think it's really important that we become educated ourselves.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. I think that is the key to especially this time of life because so many healthcare professionals aren't educated first of all on this side of part of life and it's up to us really to do that work and to look into it And it's so important to feel like you felt when you left the doctor, is like, I feel empowered, like I feel like I presented, everything I knew about this, and that you were listened to, and that, you felt good after leaving that appointment. You didn't just come in with questions. You came in with like, these are things that I've learned. And I think that's where we have to do the work, is we do have to not suppose that the person we're going to see has the answers. We
And
can
they
find
might
a lot of
not.
them. No,
Exactly.
they might
And
not.
they might not, and that's okay. As long as you are collaborative with them and they hear you and they understand you. Listen, in my private practice as a psychotherapist, there are times where people will come in and ask me something that I do not have the answer to. It's something I'm not familiar with. It's a training I've never done. We have to own it as professionals and acknowledge that we might not be experts in everything. And the amount of times that I have learned from my clients explaining something to me, which has given me the, Oprah aha moment to go and research or read, and it's educated me. So, healthcare providers can learn from their patients and clients. I'm a big believer of that. So people just have to be open-minded.
Yes, and I love that you're open-minded as a psychotherapist. I love that, that's what we need too from our healthcare professionals. So, but you mentioned something there, which was kind of like a toolbox you were talking about, of things that we can do when these symptom signs start to show up. Like what kind of tools are you talking about?
So I guess I could break it into two sections. So there's the things that are like the non-negotiables. Like if you're having symptoms, you definitely should make an appointment with your doctor. You definitely have to make sure that you're sleeping well. We know
Mhm.
that sleep is something that perimenopausal, menopausal women struggle with. So making sure that you have really good sleep hygiene, exercising, it doesn't have to be rigorous exercise, but moving your body, eating well. So those are like my kind of non-negotiables, where I say to my clients, like, these are some things you really have to do. And if you're not doing them, alcohol consumption, be aware of how much alcohol you're consuming. Those are just important things that we should do just to be healthy. And then there's I guess, the more mental health part of it, the way we speak to ourselves. Um, to me, number one toolbox piece is talking to ourselves with self-compassion. This
Mm,
is something that is very, very important to me. I practice it daily in my life. I taught my children to speak that way, and I've been working with clients for the last probably 15, 20 years. And what it means, self-compassion, is talking to yourself with the same love and kindness that you would talk to someone that you actually love and respect and admire. So my rule of thumb is, if you wouldn't say it to your best friend or your daughter or your boss or your next door neighbor, then you shouldn't be saying it to yourself.
yeah.
So many women will come in and talk harshly about themselves or put themselves down or be self-deprecating, and one of those main tools that I teach them in therapy, and it's not unique to perimenopause. I do this with almost all my clients, even the ones that are in their 20s. It's to kind of talk to yourself in a way that allows you to have self-growth and to see your worth and to learn to respect yourself, because
Mm,
there's nothing worse than putting yourself down, because then what ends up happening is you start to believe what you think. uh,
yeah.
so that would probably be my number one piece that I do with my clients. um, Another one is changing our inner narrative.
Mm,
So, a lot of people will come into a situation feeling very discouraged and sad about the changes maybe that their body is going through, or maybe they've gained some weight in different areas and they're not feeling comfortable, or they've had some hair loss, or their skin doesn't look the same. And, it's really about shifting the narrative and, again, talking to yourself in a way that maybe is more positive and more energizing, rather than harshly and negative. And when people kind of shift their mindset, it's almost like muscle memory. Like when we go to the gym and we're using weights, the more you keep practicing and the more you keep implementing it, the higher the chances you are to kind of reverse that and start to talk to yourself in a more energized, exciting, fulfilling, purposeful way. So
Yeah.
those are probably my two main pieces. And then the last
So
one,
before
oh,
before we
yes,
go,
yes,
I'm just curious because is there a way that you would suggest that people practice these things?
yes. So
Okay.
if you were to come to my house, if you were to come to any room in my house, if you came to my office, if you sat in my car, I have affirmations on my phone. I mean, I am the affirmation queen. I have stickers on my mirror in my bathroom. I have things that come up. There's this amazing app on the phone that is all about positive affirmations and talking. It's called I Am.
Mm,
So I believe that's a really good way to start because I have noticed over my decades of working with clients, when I just say to them, just talk kindly to yourself, talk with love and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't work. And they don't know what I'm talking about. And some of them have never spoken that way to themselves. So a cued approach to speaking with kindness always works. Writing out a little script on your phone, the amount of little scripts in my notes on my phone that I have of things that I want to say to myself in different situations. And if I'm feeling stressed or not grounded or upset, I'll take out a little script and I'll read it. Anything that's cued that helps you when you're in the time of distress or difficulty, something that could help you refocus, short, sweet, and to the point, will help you get into that mindset. Now,
mm.
I mean, I don't need to use the cued approach anymore because my head is like the inside of my head is all littered or with all this positive stuff, so it just comes out very naturally. But that's where I've started with all my clients. So I love
Mhm,
it. Intelligent Change has some wonderful affirmation cards. Louise Hay has, she's
mhm.
the queen of the pioneer of self-love, wonderful cards. Like that app I Am, wonderful. Post-it notes from the dollar store and just writing some nice kind words to yourself and putting it on your rear view mirror, on your steering wheel, in your briefcase, in your lunch bag helps.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
those are some really great tools that I love. But again, it's practice.
Yes, it's having a purposeful practice, like doing it daily so that, like you said, when these hard things come up, we have somewhere to go. We've been practicing it. We know what to do. And yeah.
And it's interesting. I did a workshop probably 5 years ago, and I did this little meditation. And there was a lot of women. There was probably about 125 women, and I gave them each a little handheld mirror from the dollar store.
Mm,
And I said the meditation, and all I asked them to do was to look at themselves and listen to me speak. And when I looked out into the audience, half the women were giggling and could not make eye contact with themselves in the mirror, and the other half were crying
mm,
because it was too overwhelming. So and this was an eye opener for me. I thought it was, and it ended up to be a lovely experience, but it was definitely an eye opener. So I always recommend when we're talking kindly to ourselves to do it in front of a mirror.
mhm.
Make eye contact with yourself, look at yourself. You don't even have to verbally say the words out loud, but make eye contact with yourself and get used to learning to love yourself in a very kind, nurturing way. So many
Mm,
women can't even look at themselves in the mirror and tell themselves that they're beautiful or that they love themselves. So start simple and practice, practice, practice. And, it will become part of a learned behavior that becomes part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think it is so important. And in my practice too, I think that is the biggest thing that holds us back as women is how harsh we are with ourselves and how we expect so much from ourselves that, we wouldn't even put on anybody else in our lives.
Exactly.
And yet we were so, and then we're cruel sometimes the way we speak to ourselves, the words we
Yeah.
use. So it's, yeah, that's such a needed practice. So are these things, because you also mentioned like some of the things we're dealing with at this point in life is anxiety, depression. Are these practices part of helping with that as well, or is there, how do we deal with these things as well?
I think that anything we do that helps our mental health and wellness will help globally with our entire being. So, if someone is dealing with empty nest, or they've lost their job, or they're going through marital issues and splitting up from their partner, or they're going through perimenopause, or they're just naturally aging, I think that what comes with change is sometimes difficulty navigating anxiety, sadness. So I think these tools could help with any aspect of our life. I mean, you have to tailor it to make it work for you. So, I love to practice mindfulness and being in the moment. And, not everyone likes that kind of practice. So I think it's a bit
Mhm.
of trial and error also. So
Yeah.
taking a little bit of this and being a little bit of that and being eclectic with your approach. But this talking kindly to yourself will help you with anxiety, it will help with depression, it will help with marital issues, it will help with finding a new job. I believe these are like kind of pillars of wellness that if we put them in place, they will kind of globally help us with anything that we might have to navigate.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. We do need, and I think that practice is so important. And I too have learned, and that's something I do with my clients too, is that, post-its is a big piece of it. Just put them everywhere, just to remember. And there's an app that you mentioned the I Am app, which I haven't heard of, but I've used the Think Up app, which allows
Right.
you to record your voice and say all these affirmations, and then it plays it back, and you can put music to it if you want to. But yeah, it's amazing.
These tools are at our fingertips.
Yeah.
You can just download an app for free, and it does half the work for you. Like, you literally tick off, you know body positivity, family, relationship issues, and you put your name in, and it will formulate these really authentic, warm words that, like, who doesn't want to read something lovely about themselves?
Yeah.
And my friends, they sometimes laugh at me because I'm all about it. And then friends will then call me and say, "Oh, I downloaded that. You were right. I love it." And I say, "You see, like, something as simple as that, something that might take you 30 seconds to do, could have a life-changing effect on your entire mood and ability to practice, like, self-care, and, like, it could change everything for you." So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just take that little leap of faith and try and find something that works for you.
I think that's so good because I don't think we think of that when we're struggling with things. I think we are always looking outside, and there's these simple practices we can do within ourselves. And until we do them, we don't know that they're real. And I think it's a hard time right now because we're looking for solutions, and that just seems so simple. It's not going to work. It's, I feel the resistance. I hear the resistance. But it's right there. It's right inside of us, or at our fingertips. It's not far. We don't have to go anywhere for it. And I think that's so important. I don't think we practice our mental health like brushing our teeth, like you said. I don't think it's something we're used to doing, and that does need to become part of our daily life. We think of exercise, we think of eating well, but we don't think of, hey, I need to, you know, talk nicer, be kinder to myself, and that can make such a big difference. It doesn't equate yet for a lot of people. So until they do
And
it, yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. People who, have great jobs and have great family life, and, go to the gym and eat well, and their mental health is not cared for, and they're not feeling good.
No.
So it's just a piece of the puzzle. If you kind of look at a pie chart and you kind of separate it into all those things are so important. But if we kind of make sure that our mental health and wellness is taken care of also, then we become the whole package. And then we're able to truly enjoy our lives from a mental health point of view, from a physical, from a health point of view, but it all goes hand in hand. And if you don't have one of those pieces, I don't believe the rest can work in harmony.
Mm, I believe you. I think that is so important. And for women that you do see in perimenopause and who do have, because I know myself too, I've experienced some high. I'm not an anxious person, like you said. Some women come in and they're probably not anxious, and that's something I've been dealing with, is a bit more anxious in certain situations, not everywhere, but in certain situations, I find my anxiety is up there. And I know I have friends and I have clients whose anxiety has gone from, yes, they were anxious before, but now it's worse.
Yes.
So what do you do in those cases? I'm just curious, as from a personal point of view and also from, what I'm hearing from a lot of women.
So listen, I'm not a doctor, but
Mhm.
if you are feeling your mood exasperated, it could be because of hormonal changes. And I do think that it is worth a discussion with your doctor because there are supplements and medications and things that people can take in order to kind of help that part of them. I also, I told you about my progesterone, and one of the biggest issues with very, very low progesterone is increased anxiety. Well, I have been like agitated and anxious, especially before I'm getting my period, because I'm still, believe it or not, regular with my period, even though my progesterone is at zero. So I think that it's about anticipation, having tools. So breathing exercises, I really make sure that I sleep well. I make sure that I add exercise around those days, especially when I'm feeling a little bit more, out of my skin. Exercise will help. I'll go for a walk. I'll play outside with my dogs. I think it's, again, if we can, to be a little bit ahead of the curve and not wait for us to kind of really be flat on our face and say, oh my goodness, I feel awful. How do I get myself up? Because, when we're really down on the ground, it's hard to get up. So I think it's about anticipation and,
Mhm.
again, having that toolbox. So make sure you're talking kindly to yourself. Make sure that you are talking to people around you. Make sure that um, we talk so much about women, but my family is implicated in my perimenopausal journey. And, I have 3 kids, my husband. I talk to them about it. I will have them help more around mealtime when I'm feeling out of sorts or I feel like I'm having a difficult day. I will talk to them more about things. So I think it's really about having like the group of people around you, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, kind of rally and help you. And I guess the biggest thing is just to talk about it. So if you're feeling
Yes.
anxious, if you're feeling agitated, the amount of times that I've sat down with my husband or my kids and said, I can't believe how agitated I'm feeling right now. Like I am feeling like I am like a 10 on 10. Like I'm feeling awful. And being able to have them help me through it and talk to me and validate me has been very instrumental in helping me cope. So I think it's really about kind of communicating also and make sure you don't just sit with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's having those tools in communication as well that maybe a lot of us haven't had or haven't shared things before. So it's learning how to do that and to understand and obviously do it with people who are supportive and who do want the best for us. But I think that's another tool. Something else to learn here is that we might have to learn how to communicate better, and we might have to, in order to get the support we need. People aren't going to read our minds. They don't know what we're going through unless we talk about it.
And you've hit the nail on the head. The amount of times that I've said to my clients, your partner, your children, your friends, they're not mind readers. They're not going to know what's going on inside you. You need to communicate your needs. You need to explain to them what you're feeling. You need to educate them. Like my husband didn't, he's a psychologist, but he didn't really understand what perimenopause was. He thought it was hot flashes and he makes fun of me at the beginning because I have my little fan and my, oh, you're always hot. And he would like kind of giggle about it. He gets it now because I've sat down and I've explained it and I've educated him. And I didn't understand it either at the beginning. So I really think it's about our delivery, um, using I statements, never blame or say you statements, because we know that defense goes up when we speak to people that like that. So I statements expressing how we're feeling, what we're navigating, how it's impacting us. And again, really creating a sense of community around us. You just really need one person who gets you. And
Yes.
I believe that having someone who understands you, even if they're not going through the same journey as you, it just will help normalize the experience a bit.
That is so good. That is so good. You just need one. And
You
I
just
think
need
that is
one.
so powerful. So, and that kind of takes me to, yeah, this supportive community. So what you put on this past October, Menopause Unscripted. Tell me a little bit about that and the future of what you're going to do with this.
So I kind of had this vision that I was going to create this sense of community, and I wasn't sure if people were going to grab on to the idea of having a whole bunch of perimenopausal, menopausal women together. And it exceeded my expectations. We were 70 women. Um, my venue was small. I was getting phone calls and emails at the end of people wanting to buy tickets, and I couldn't even accommodate them because the venue couldn't accommodate. So that made me feel sad because I wanted to let everyone in, but it made me feel hopeful because it meant that people are talking about it and they want to be part of a community. Um, and really, the day was about education, learning to advocate for ourselves, learning to normalize some of the experiences and gain support from other women. You mentioned at the beginning experts, absolutely, but also just like-minded everyday women who are all going through a similar journey, supporting each other. And one of the most beautiful things was there were some younger women there, people who weren't necessarily have gone through perimenopause, and then there were some older women there who had already completed and have been in menopause for many years. And the beauty of everyone supporting and learning from each other, it was just honestly a life-changing experience to see women together. I've always done women events, but this one was truly special and very inspiring to see women talk so openly about something that unfortunately is still so taboo. So it gave me a lot of hope.
I think that is a fabulous it was a fabulous idea. I think that and just the fact that you had so many women who were interested in it, like you said, it tells us women need this, women need support, and they want support from other women. And a lot of times, women aren't the best support for each other. Sometimes that happens, right? So it's just nice to create a community where we can support each other and we're all going through this in some shape or form. So let's get together and help each other out. And I just love the spirit of which you did this event. And I
Thank
just
you.
love that. So is it going to happen again?
Oh my goodness. Everyone laughed at me because literally the next day, as I should have been recuperating from creating this kind of little mini wedding, I was already planning the next event. So yes, we hopefully will have two events in October in 2025, one in April 2025 and one in October 2025. Um, what the women asked for was more time to talk, believe it or not, even though it was like a full day event. I thought, wow, who's going to stay for a full day? People wanted even more time, more connection, more opportunity to like share stories and grow. So I think it'll be a little bit more hands-on the next event, where maybe a little bit more introspective, where they can kind of work on things for themselves. This one was a lot of professionals, which was unbelievable. And now I'm going to add my special forte, which is that touchy-feely nurturing aspect to it, which I didn't have in this one. So I think I'm going to kind of perfect it, and I think it's going to even make this event even, I believe, even more life-changing.
Okay. And you'll have a bigger venue, I'm imagining.
Yes, I will have. I love the venue that we were in, and it was beautiful, but I think I need a little bit bigger. My hope is not to create too big because I do like to really
Mhm.
make sure that women are heard and have a voice. And if we make it too big, it will lose the essence of it. But definitely be able to accommodate a few more women into the room, I think will make me feel better and we'll be able to touch more women, which hopefully will be that trickle effect.
I love it, and I plan to be there, whatever event you're doing. I'm very excited. I really wanted to go to this past event. I was in Europe with my girls, which was a dream come true. So I wasn't able to go to this past event, but I'm very excited about what you've got coming up, and I think it's so needed. And yeah, you're on the cutting edge of this. So this is where it begins, and I think it'll only grow from here because I know so many women are asking questions. And earlier, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, I had Marie-Josée Bourassa on the podcast, and she has Clinique Menopause here in Montreal, and I had so many women reach out to me asking, how do I get in touch with them? I really, I love this idea and I want somebody to talk to. I need some help right now. So I'm like,
So
great.
I love Marie-Josée. She was actually on the fireside chat at my event. She's actually going to be a sponsor for my next event. Her clinic is cutting edge and wonderful, and she is so, so lovely to collaborate with. So, people like you and me and Marie-Josée, and there's so many others in Montreal, even if we can kind of create this little niche community for people. I'm feeling very hopeful that we can kind of eradicate the stigma and get people the support that they really need. So thank you
Absolutely.
for giving women like me, like Marie-Josée, like all the other women, a voice to be able to kind of share our stories with your listeners because it's so important that people hear us, right?
Yes, yes. And I really appreciate that you exist, that you're out there because I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't, for this podcast, first of all, and for being in this community. So I'm so glad that we got to meet. I'm so glad that you could come here and I would
Now we're
love to have you
friends
back
for
on.
life.
Now we're friends for life.
Honestly, it would be my pleasure. And if I could leave one little thing with the listeners today, and we kind of touched about it, but if I could kind of throw one big statement out there, it's to not be afraid to make your needs a priority.
Mm,
We make everyone's needs a priority. We're caregivers to our family members and to our children and to our partners and to our jobs. And even we help people during the holidays and we do this and we do when we're doing so much. And if we could just make sure to throw ourselves into that and to make sure that we make our own needs a priority. Like if someone leaves today and listens to this podcast and says, I'm making a doctor's appointment and I'm making a list, or I'm going to start affirmations, like that means we're doing something, but it also means that they're listening and they're realizing that they are of value and they're worth it to be heard. So like that's really what I think all of us are hoping for.
yeah, I think that's the best message is that is what it's going to take to make yourself feel better is you have to prioritize yourself. You have to put yourself
Yep.
ahead and it can be as small as just picking up the phone and calling the doctor. I mean, it's not big deals, but a lot of us are putting that off. So it's just the small things that we can do that will put us, in a much better position to feel better and to be able then to do all those things and support everybody else in our lives. We have to do it first. So I think that's an important message. Now, there's a question I ask all my all my guests, which
Yeah.
is what is the best part of getting older for you so far, Lisa?
So I love getting older. I feel it's a privilege. I'm my best self in my 50s, and I hope to be my even better self in my 60s or 70s. To me, it's just that privilege. It's a privilege to age. It's a privilege to live and to breathe and to watch my children and what I've created. So to me, it's just the privilege of getting older, which is the best thing about getting older for me.
It is. I think that's a perspective that you get, hopefully, with experience, as you see that this isn't just a given that we're here, that we are actually very lucky to have the life we have and to be able to live through this time. So I appreciate that. I think that's a great aspect of growing older, and we should all embrace that. So if my listeners want to get in touch with you, if they want, to find out more about what you do, where can they do that?
So I think the best thing is our website,
Mhm.
westislandtherapycenter.com. I'm very active on Instagram, West Island Therapy and Wellness. We're on Facebook. I'm on um, uh, what's that other
X,
one? What's the other one called?
X, LinkedIn.
No, no, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and with all the young ones, TikTok.
Oh,
I'm on
TikTok.
TikTok. My kids made me a TikTok account. So I'm all over social media. It's me who does the social media. So if anyone even reaches out, they're going to be not surprised. It's me responding. So, there's so many ways to get in touch with us, but the best way is even just through the website.
Okay. Okay. And I will include all of those links in the show notes. So anybody who wants to reach out to Lisa can do that. And I just want to thank you again for being here.
Yeah.
I love that you're local. I love that, a lot of my audience also is local so that they can get in touch with you. But I think you do work virtually as well, right?
So my clinic is both virtual and in person. I mostly work virtual.
Okay.
Just works out well for me. But if someone wanted to come in for a session, we have so many therapists that couldn't see them in person as well.
Okay. So great. So even people who are from out of town could connect with
Yes,
you and make an appointment.
absolutely.
Okay. Wonderful. That's so good to know. All right, Lisa, thanks so much for being here today, and we will definitely stay connected.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.